My name is Thomas Clark, and welcome to the Takeoff Podcast, where I help equip you to bring the peace of God to the places you live, work, learn, and play, all for His glory. Every problem is a discipleship problem. Being a disciple of Christ does not mean we will not face problems, but it does mean we have the tools to face them faithfully. My worldview is that Christ transforms culture, and He does it through His followers. The goal of Takeoff is to equip you for movemental thinking as we make disciples who make disciples. This is season 8, and this season is about incarnational living in first, second, and third places. Okay, let's get started. And so far this season, we've talked about the fact that Jesus moved into the neighborhood. We've talked about the missional incarnational impulse. We've talked about first, second, and third place. Now, as we close this season, we close it with something deeply practical. You see, because after all the theology, all the framework, all the missional language, and all the reflection, there is still a very simple question we have to ask and answer. Do I actually know the people around me? Yeah. I just had this conversation with one of the followers of Christ about knowing and being known by the people who are around us. Do I know their names? I may know their names, but do I know their stories? Do I know their rhythms? Do I know where peace may already be operating? Or am I still living near people without really being present to them? That is, I'm here, but I'm not here. I'm here in physically, but emotionally, relationally, spiritually, I'm not. Incarnationally, I'm not here. So today, I want to end this season with a challenge, not just an idea. And this is a challenge that you actually can do, but then you have to determine to do it and not be propositional. And that's the focus of this episode, this challenge I'm going to give you. That's the focus of this episode. You see, because in truth, you really cannot love your neighbor well if your neighbor is still mostly anonymous to you. I know you have the love of Jesus. I'm not going to doubt that. But how much do you really love a neighbor that you don't know? Can you really say you love them and yet they don't know you and you don't know them? And so we have to keep it simple. See, one of the dangers of movemental thinking is that people can admire the language of mission without ever stepping into simple obedience. We can talk about incarnational living and how impactful it is, how it's needed. We can talk about persons of peace. Yes, we're persons of peace in search of other persons of peace. That sounds good. We can talk about neighboring. We can talk about disciple making. We can even talk about first place mission. And you know what? Still never take the first simple step. But it's simple practices, you all, that matter, because simple practices actually expose our reality. Let me break that. Let me unpack that for you for a second. A practical challenge reveals several things. A practical challenge reveals whether we're paying attention to the people around us and the situations around us. A practical challenge reveals whether we're present in the lives of other people and allowing them to know that we're present. A practical challenge reveals whether our theology has become embodied. That is, are we living it out? Are we living what we talk about God? A practical challenge reveals whether our love is concrete, and it reveals whether our mission is real. That's why this episode, this concluding episode of season 8 matters. Not because drawing a grid is magical and we're going to give you the Tic-Tac-Toe challenge. So I'm going to let the cat out of the bag now. There's nothing magical about that. We don't even deal with magic, actually. But this episode matters, you all, and the challenge we're going to give matters because practical neighboring helps expose whether we've actually begun to live missionally in the places that are closest to us. See, sometimes the clearest way to test missional faithfulness is not with a theory, but with a very ordinary act of attention. So I already said it, and we've talked about it in previous episodes. Let's do a deep dive and unpack the Tic-Tac-Toe challenge, because what this episode is built around, this one simple practice. So here's what I want you to do. Draw a tic-tac-toe board. Again, yes, again. There's still some neighbors need to be met. Some people, some co-workers need to be met. Draw a simple tic-tac-toe board. 9 squares, some people call it. Put your residence in the center, your apartment in the center. Then fill in the surrounding spaces with the names of your neighbors. Now, I know when I said that it sounds almost too simple, but that's exactly the point, you all. I know it sounds simple, but that's the whole point. Because when many of us try to do this, we discover something. We discover that we often do not know the people closest to us as well as we imagined we know them. So we may know their faces. We may know the vehicle they drive. We may know the routine. They leave every morning before 7. They come home every evening before 6. We may know the routines. We may know rough impressions of them. But unfortunately, many times we don't know their names. I'm talking beyond the last name or maybe the first name. And sometimes because you see it on the mailbox. We don't know their stories. We don't know their needs or their burdens. We don't know their openness, their longing, their losses. We don't know where peace may be resting. And that matters, you all. Because in truth, neighboring begins with attention. With us intentionally giving our attention to these people that God has placed us around and placed around us. So I want to be clear about something, because as I'm saying this, I want to be clear. The tic-tac-toe challenge is not about guilt. It's about awakening. It helps us ask several things. One of the things it helps us ask is, who is actually around me? Who is missing from my imagination? Who have I normalized walking past? I had a conversation with someone earlier. Walked past someone for months and months. Heard the name but didn't know the person. Who have I normalized walking past? Well, yep, they sitting right there. Yep, they're walking the dog. Yep, they're sitting on the porch. Yep, they're checking their mail. Yep, they're changing the oil. Whatever it is. And I've normalized walking past them, but never stopped to introduce myself. Who has God already placed near me that I have not yet learned to see them for being them? I mean, really see them. See, this neighboring challenge is not first about doing more. It actually is about seeing more faithfully. Where we already are, the people we already are around. Am I seeing this situation, these people more faithfully? So please understand then, we're going to do this. Naming actually is the beginning of presence. What does that mean? Well, in scripture, naming matters. You see, to know someone by name is not about the fullness of love. It's often the beginning of attention. And I tell you right now, you may or may not hear the chirping of birds and crickets outside. It's because I had to turn the fan off. Full disclosure. I had to turn the fan off so that you wouldn't hear the humming of the fan, and open the window up. So you may hear nature, and that's fine. Hopefully it's the soothing sound you need to actually get into this challenge. You may not even hear it. Now you're going to probably listen more intently if you don't hear it, but that's fine. Lean in. Yeah, lean in and let's keep going. Name, you all, when we know someone's name, we can name them. It turns those people into actual people. It's not, those people down there. You know those people over there. No, they're actually people now. Names slow down indifference. Names move us up from abstraction into relationship. So here's the question then. As we get to know people and their names, what will you do to engage them? That means this tic-tac-toe board challenge is this exercise is not just about information, it's about an intentional next step. You're not getting to know their name and find out things about them just for the sake of finding something out. No, this is an intentional next step that you're taking. And this matters then because people sometimes think mission begins when they say something profound. And so sometimes we don't even talk to people because I don't know anything deep to say or think anything profound to say. But you know what? Honestly, you all, mission begins much earlier than that. Before the profoundness comes, and often actually the profoundness, or what seems profound, actually sometimes, actually is profound, I should say. It's actually sometimes the most simple things, but it's profound only because we know people enough to share something. They say, wow, that's what I need to hear. That's when it's profound, not because we're trying to be deep, but because we're saying something that's necessary. But mission begins much earlier than that. It begins with a name. So you can't get to the profoundness or the saying something that really resonates with someone because you know them if you don't know them. So it starts with a name. It starts with the greeting. It starts with consistency. It starts with showing up. It starts with curiosity, getting to know people, asking questions. It starts with remembering what matters to someone. It starts with remember, oh, you know what? Today is your birthday. And I'm making that up. So don't be so literal. It don't have to just be a birthday. You know what you did? You did tell me that a week ago you failed. How are you doing right now? See, it starts remembering something that matters to someone. You did tell me you miss your grandchild. Have you talked to them on the phone? You know what? I got a thinking of you card because I was thinking of you because I know you miss your grandchild. Whatever it is, remembering what matters to someone. That means, you all, that this tic-tac-toe challenge is not childish. It is deeply discipleship oriented. Yes. You see, because if Jesus moved into the neighborhood, and if we are sent as he was sent, then paying attention to actually neighbors is not something that's optional. He moved to the neighborhood, and guess what he did? He knew his neighbors. That's a part of embodied witness. In truth, names are often the first step in turning proximity into presence. I may be near you, but now that I know your name, I'm present with you. You're present with me. Now I can begin to invite you into my life until you trust me enough to invite me back into your life. So it's not just, hey, you. I knew a lady years ago, an older lady, and she laughed one time. She said, I noticed what you do. You wait until I'm looking at you to talk. She said, you must not know my name. You don't want to say my name. She said, so you wait till I'm looking at you. It was a long time ago. She said, and she was right. She was right. I'll wait till she look at me. Then ma'am, miss. Yeah. But no relationship happens if the only time we talk to someone is when they're looking at us or looking our way. Then we say something because we don't know their name. So the goal, you all, is not completion. That's not why you're doing the challenge. The goal is faithful engagement. So I want to be honest. Let's be honest. Not that I want to be honest, like I haven't been honest. I have been. But let's be honest. That's a better way of saying it. Some people would do this challenge and you can quickly fill in the other 8 squares. Others may only know 1 or 2 names. And then some who are engaged in this episode now will realize that you don't know almost anyone. But the point, you all, of doing this exercise is not to be shamed or for me to shame you or you to feel ashamed. The point, you all, is clarity. The point is clarity. See, the goal is not, let's complete the board so I can feel spiritual. Now I've done this and then look how God is using me. No. The goal is not to perform neighboring. Like, yeah, I must be a good neighbor because I know names, but you still don't know the people. You know any names. The goal is not to pretend closeness. The goal, I dare say, as I said a moment ago, is faithful engagement. That means what we're doing in this concluding episode of season 8 is where I'm calling you. We're calling you to ask, which square is most open? Who have I not engaged with? Who do I need to engage with deeper? Even if I know their name, who do I need to engage with? I know their name, but I don't know them. They don't know me. Who do I engage with deeper? Which relationships feel warm? Where can I take the next step in those relationships? Here's something else we're asking in this episode with this challenge. Where has God already created familiarity? That is, where have we already realized we have a shared history? And there are things, again, we can build on that. Where might a simple next step matter that I need to lean in as I get to know? Again, maybe they've recently had death in the family, or maybe they recently celebrated a milestone. Where can I take a simple next step in that relationship? Who might be a person of peace? They're a connector, and they're willing to open up their network to help me come. And when I come into it, Jesus comes also. This episode is calling you to ask, who may simply need kindness, consistency, and attention first? Before I even talk about Jesus, I'm listening with compassion. I'm sharing a meal with them. I'm serving them and allowing them to serve me. Yeah, they just need me to be kind to them, be consistent, and pay attention. So I want to tie this, you all, to something we've talked about before, and over this season. First Place taught that home is not our castle. You cannot have a castle in somebody else's kingdom. He's king, Jesus Lord. He's king. This is kingdom. He has the only castle. Second Place taught us that God is often hiding in the workplace and wants to be revealed through us. Third Place taught us that social momentum matters. You have social momentum before spiritual momentum. But what this episode says is now start with the actual people around you in any of those places. First, second, or third place. Start with people around you. The people, again, that you're around often. Start with them. Sometimes when we do Discovery Bible Study and the last part, Discovery Bible Study, after we do the I will, what is God telling you to start or stop doing? I will, start or stop, and who you're going to share it with. And so you say everyone. Well, you don't know everyone. You can't just cold call people, everyone. No, name someone particular. Who are the actual people around you you're going to start with? The point of this tic-tac-toe challenge then is not to admire the map and look and say, look how many neighbors I have, how big my neighborhood is, etc. No, it is to step into one relationship with greater faithfulness. So what we're calling you to do actually is to go from awareness to one concrete step. Because in truth, neighboring often breaks down, you all, not at the level of desire, but the level of clarity. That's where neighboring breaks down. You can desire it, but there's no clarity to what you're going to do next to get to know them. So there are people who think, I should be a better neighbor. And you're right, you should. There's some who think I should be more present. And you're right, you should. There's some who say I should know people better. And you're right, you should. But you know what they never do, unfortunately? And maybe there's some engaging now who feel this, what I'm about to say. They never identify one next action, one next concrete step to be that better neighbor, to be more present, or know people better. So let me tell you what movement looks like then for us in a disciple-making movement. It goes from noticing someone to knowing their name so you can pray for them to ultimately engaging them. Yeah, as you listen, some are familiar with the blessed five people you pray for 5 minutes, for 5 days, for 5 weeks, the blessed five. You say, I don't know what to pray for. Well, perhaps if you just have conversation, listen, you'll find out there's a whole lot to pray for. Not because you even tell me what to pray for. No, I'm just having a conversation with you. But as I'm listening with compassion, the Lord is showing me what I need to be in prayer with you and for you about. So that engagement step might be, you all speak to one neighbor that you usually walk past. Instead of walking past them, stop and have a conversation. The step might be learn one name that you don't know. It might be asking one better question. It might be offering one act of service or follow up on a prior conversation. It might be inviting one person to coffee, inviting one person to just sit with you on your porch, inviting somebody to a meal. Come sit with me at my table. Or can I come to your table? Or let me take you to get a sandwich. Just to have a conversation. It might be that engagement set might be praying by name for one household, calling that household by name. And they might not even know it yet, but you're doing it because you listened and then you know what to pray for and pray about. It might be staying outside 5 minutes longer than usual because you said earlier the neighbor leaves before 7 in the morning or whatever time, gets home before 6. It might mean staying outside 5 minutes longer so that when that neighbor gets home, you're outside already and you're able to greet them and engage them. It might mean being interruptible, not being so busy that no one can interrupt you. And what I just said, those examples I gave, it's not flashy, but it is real. And neighboring you all is often built that way. Neighbor is not built through grand gestures, but through ordinary, repeated faithfulness. You see, mission often becomes real, not when we do everything, but when we faithfully do the next right thing. What's the next right thing you're going to do? Because you've made the time, you've used the time wisely to do the Tic-Tac-Toe challenge so you can get to know your neighbors. So as this season comes to a conclusion, I want to leave you with tension. I still have tension for you. And here it is. Lean in. If I drew that tic-tac-toe board today, what would it reveal about how present I really am in the place where I live? What would it reveal? That, man, I don't know these people like I think I know these people. Or another way of looking at it, which neighbor have I had the opportunity to know, but still left mostly unnamed, unseen, or unengaged? I've had opportunity to know them, but I've been so busy or so distracted or so otherwise unavailable and not interruptible that they're unnamed, they're unseen, and they go unengaged. Here's the I will statement then. This week, as we conclude this season, y'all, the I will statement. This week, I will draw my tic-tac-toe board, identify one neighbor or household to engage, and take one intentional step toward faithful presence. So you got your board, name the square. Which neighbor, which square is that? Is the neighbor across the street, behind you, next door, to the left, to the right, diagonal across for you? Which square is that neighbor for that neighbor, that household? Name the person or that household then. Name the square. If you know their name that person, household, and then name that step. That step might mean you need to go learn their name. That step might be, I know their name, but I need to start a conversation. That step might be, I'm going to go offer help. That step might be, I'm going to pray for them or follow up with them, or perhaps share a meal, listen more deeply, or show up with consistency. Yeah. You know, this season, you all, has been about incarnational living. And incarnation is not just a doctrine to believe. Incarnation is a way of showing up. So as we close this season, I do not want to leave you with only ideas about neighborhood mission, first place, second place, or third place. I want to leave you with a practice, something you actually can do. We're going from proposition to practice. So draw the board. Learn the names. Notice the gaps. Pray for your neighbors. Take one step. Because the people around you are not interruptions to your spiritual life. They actually are part of the field where Jesus, who moved into the neighborhood, may already be at work, and he's inviting you to join him there. And sometimes, you all, The beginning of faithful neighboring is as simple as refusing to let the people closest to you remain anonymous. Thank you so much for engaging. And until next time, let's take off. Everything we've talked about on Takeoff is meant to be lived, not just listened to. If you'd like to partner with this work, you can support the podcast for as little as $3 a month. Supporters help keep this work going and receive bonus episodes that offer deeper reflection and practical encouragement. This is a shared mission, not a transaction. And I'm grateful for every person who walks this journey